We are reaching the end of our Axe the Tenant Tax Awareness Week, and what a week it's been, Steve. And it's so great that we've had all the contributions from the coalition members. We've seen everybody united against Section 24, which came into effect this Wednesday. This is real stuff, isn't it, Steve? And landlords hopefully have taken away some of the messages from this fantastic week of content.
Yeah, it's been great, V, and thanks for all support to you and Property Tribes and to Nick and everyone else that's been involved in it. All the coalition stakeholders, individual landlords. This is obviously only the start of the journey, the next leg of the journey, if you like. So yeah, whilst it comes into force, there's still a huge job to be done in terms of raising an awareness and the political lobbying, which is ultimately where we're going to win this battle.
Indeed, and we've heard from many of the coalition stakeholders, as we said, and what I found so interesting about listening to the interviews is that everybody's had a slightly different perspective on it, and I thought, oh yes, that's a good point, and that's a good point. What would you say are some of the key things that you've kind of taken on board that have come out of the interviews this week?
So for me, the key things have been just how much lack of awareness there is around this issue. So that's the overriding thing. All the organisations, the RLA, NLA, SAL, ALA, and our sponsors, our supporters, individual landlords have been doing amazing work raising awareness. But I think the government have been very clever in the way that they've presented this, calling it a tax relief, mortgage interest relief. So it sounds like it's a benefit rather than it's a normal business expense, finance to buy an asset that's providing homes for people. It's a cost of doing business. So I think whilst there's big organisations that have been doing great work and will continue to, it comes down to the individual landlords and letting agents and those involved in the private rented sector and tenants as well, to put their hand up, to be heard, to have their voice heard, lobby government and get involved, visit the Tenant Tax website, because we still today, it's amazing, we're at an industry event and I've met lots of landlords, lots of letting agents, got no clue about this, or they don't think it's going to affect them when clearly it's going to.
And I think just to reiterate again that one of the things that the landlord Gemma, who you spoke to, she made the very valid point once again that landlords shouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction to this, that they need to keep their powder dry and get bespoke tax advice, because it's not a case of one size fits all.
No, not at all. If people haven't done it already, I know a lot of people probably watching this will have done that. But speak to an accountant who actually understands this, can look at the bigger picture of your personal circumstances and situation. That's if you own property already. If you're a new landlord looking to come into the market, then what most people seem to be doing at the moment is buying through a limited company, because it won't be affected by Section 24. But a lot of people's concern is, what's going to happen to companies down the line? Are they going to, we've proved in the High Court that obviously individuals and companies are treated differently. That's what we lost the judicial review on. But could the government make taxation worse for companies? Yes, they could. We don't know if they're going to. So there's not a one-size-fits-all solution to this. If people are continuing to buy, our business PPP, we've seen a massive influx. We've had our biggest quarter for 6 years, with more people coming into the HMO market. So people are not going to go off property. They're just going to look at different strategies in terms of what they do moving forward, and that's everybody's circumstances are different.
Many landlords are just, cruising along without any awareness of this, and we're so concerned that when they do their tax return for this next tax year, that's when they're going to have this massive wake-up call, and by then, probably too late.
Yeah, it's and a masterful piece of PR. It really is, in terms of the way they put this out. For example, 1 in 5 landlords are going to be affected. Well, if they went out and said 1 in 5 people are going to lose their jobs, there'd be massive uproar. We're talking about 400,000 people at least. That's landlords, and they probably house potentially millions and millions of tenants. So this is a mainstream issue that It just really saddens me because there are hard-working people that can't afford to buy, that live in private rented accommodation. They're happy with that choice. It's their decision. And their rents are going to go up, or there's going to be less properties for them to buy, or those properties are going to be more poorly maintained, or they're going to have the moving costs of moving out of one house that's been sold and trying to find somewhere else to live. So at a grassroots level, that for me is the fundamental reason why I've been fighting this, is because it's going to hurt hard-working tenants, hard-working landlords. It's going to affect letting agents, builders, tradespeople. The whole industry is going to see this tsunami, and it's going to hit landfall probably in a year, 2 years, 3 years' time. But it will be too late then. The landlords will have gone, the rents will have gone up, and as the Irish example shows us, once the rents go up, they rarely tend to come back down again.
We heard from two landlords, Jamie Fraser and Gemma Shin, and they both said that they'd maintained rents below market value in view of the great relationship they had with their tenants, and that they were actually being forced to now increase their rents to prepare for the impact of Section 24. So much irony.
Absolutely, and I remember having a debate with the finance editor of the Guardian newspaper, and he said, you say landlords are going to put rents up. Well, have you ever heard of supply and demand? It's like, yeah, have you ever really understood the private rented sector and the private landlord? We're not like big companies. These are accidental landlords, individuals. You've got a good tenant paying a rent that covers your costs, maybe makes a small profit. That's what most landlords are happy with. So you don't necessarily want to risk putting rents up as well, because somebody might say, well, I want to leave, but people are going to be forced to do that now. And I think as lots more people do that, it's going to raise the rental prices across the country. Obviously, there's going to be some exceptions. It's not going to be everywhere. Some people will say, look at London, rents have been going down recently. Well, what they don't realise is travel times to get to work in London has doubled over the last 5 years. Why? Because people have had to move out of London to find somewhere cheaper to live. And what's the cost to the economy on the transport, the well-being costs for those families that don't see their kids because they're travelling further. And we've seen a massive rise in the number of people sharing, and that, again, it hides the real figures that people are either moving out of London or they're choosing to share, which is cheaper. So don't believe the headline statistics that rents are dropping and there's not a problem, because there's a massive problem. And, and it's as I say, it's a tsunami waiting to happen, sadly. Yeah.
And just to finish, Steve, I think the biggest sort of thing that came out of this week for me, and I think it's a really good point to end on, is that there will, everybody's saying, it's only highly leveraged sole trader landlords that are affected by Section 24. True enough, so there may be a large number of landlords out there thinking, it doesn't affect me. But I think one of the key things we have to take away from this is, if the government get away with the Section 24 legislation, what next are they going to do to hammer landlords? We have to stand united as a community against their attacks on us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just Section 24, it started with this, but at the same time as Section 24, as the wear and tear allowance was changed, then stamp duty's been hit, letting agency fees have been hit. There's more coming. So
right to rent changes.
Exactly.
So it's making tax digital, which isn't only landlords, admittedly, but again, it's more things to deter people investing and new landlords coming into the sector when we so desperately need the housing.
Absolutely, and I was had 10 minutes one-to-one with the Chancellor of the Exchequer a short while ago, and in his general speech after my chat with him, he sort of said, there's a unique time in political history where there isn't really an opposition, and the Conservatives actually think nobody's going to vote for Labour, so let's actually get more tax off of Conservative voters whose votes we would normally protect and want. But they see there's no credible opposition in Labour, so that's why we're seeing almost a Conservative government coming out with anti-Conservative policies.
Indeed.
And so we need to meet our MPs, especially those marginal constituencies, and put pressure on a Conservative government. Everybody, raise awareness, look at your own personal tax situation. Thanks for the support. We've got a lot of loyal supporters out there. It's a long, hard battle, but we're in it till the end, and we're in it until we win. And, we'll keep on fighting, and it's thanks to you and lots of other people that we're going to win this battle.
Well, fighting talks, Steve, and rightly so. And if you're a landlord that isn't affected by Section 24, then please do consider lending your voice to this campaign, because you could be impacted on the next thing the government try and introduce to hammer landlords. So it's a bigger picture, really. That's what I want to finish on this week, Steve. There's a bigger picture. There's more at stake than just highly leveraged sole landlords being affected by S24.
That's right, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your wonderful interviewing. You've done some fantastic interviews, and we do hope that you've enjoyed Tenant Tax Awareness Week and that you will do your bit to spread awareness. So get out there on the social web and share this content, and we do appreciate your support in doing that.